I received a text from my attorney at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. It said, "Check your home security system." Now, I was already in bed, exhausted from another day of walking on eggshells in my own house. My daughter-in-law Rebecca had moved in 6 months ago when my son Michael took that consulting job overseas. Temporary, he'd said, just until he got settled. But temporary had stretched into something that felt permanent, and somewhere along the way, Rebecca had stopped asking permission for things and started making decisions. I sat up and reached for my phone, opening the security app I'd installed 3 weeks earlier. The cameras were new, hidden in smoke detectors, picture frames, and even the clock in the hallway. I'd felt guilty installing them at first, like I was spying on family, but things had been disappearing, small things at first. A silver picture frame, my father's pocket watch, the emerald cufflinks my wife had given me for our 30th anniversary. When I'd asked Rebecca about them, she'd smiled that patient smile people use with children and elderly people. "Dad," she'd said. She always called me Dad now, which I'd liked at first. "You probably just misplaced them. You know how forgetful you've been getting." I hadn't been forgetful. I was 68 years old, not 90. My mind was sharp. I remembered exactly where I'd put those items, so I'd called a security company and had them install the cameras while Rebecca was out. The technician had been discreet, professional. He'd even helped me set up the app so I could access the footage from anywhere. Now, sitting in the darkness of my bedroom, I opened the app and scrolled through the evening's recordings. The living room camera showed Rebecca on the phone, pacing. I couldn't hear what she was saying. I hadn't paid for audio on all the cameras, but her body language was animated, excited. Then I switched to the kitchen camera. My breath caught. Rebecca was standing at my kitchen counter with a man I'd never seen before. He was younger than her, maybe 30, with slick-back hair and an expensive watch. They were drinking wine from my bottles, the good ones from the cellar my wife and I had built together over 30 years of marriage. The man had his arm around Rebecca's waist. I watched as they laughed, kissed, and then Rebecca pulled out her phone and took a selfie, both of them grinning at the camera. The man's hand was on her hip. Her left hand, the one wearing my son's ring, was raised, holding a wine glass prominently displayed but somehow mockingly so. I felt my chest tighten. Michael was in Singapore. He called every week, always asking how things were at home, always grateful that Rebecca was taking such good care of me. I switched to the hallway camera. The timestamp showed 10:30 p.m. about an hour ago. Rebecca and the man were walking upstairs toward the master bedroom, my bedroom. The room I'd shared with my wife for 43 years before she passed. I couldn't watch anymore. I set the phone down and sat in the darkness, trying to process what I'd just seen. My daughter-in-law was having an affair, in my house, in my bedroom, but it was the next recording that changed everything. I almost didn't check it. It was from the guest room camera, the room I'd been sleeping in since Rebecca had convinced me the master bedroom was too big for just me, that I'd be more comfortable in the smaller guest room. At the time, it had seemed considerate. Now I understood. The recording showed Rebecca entering my current bedroom, the guest room, while I'd been downstairs watching television. She'd gone straight to my dresser and started going through drawers. She pulled out my wallet, photographed my credit cards, and then opened the bottom drawer where I kept important documents. She found my will. I watched her read it, page by page, her expression shifting from curiosity to frustration to something darker. Then she pulled out her phone and photographed every page. After that, she went to my closet and found the lockbox where I kept my passport, social security card, and bank account information. She tried several combinations on the lock. When it finally opened, I'd used my wedding anniversary. Foolishly, she photographed everything inside. My attorney's text suddenly made terrible sense. "Check your home security system now." He must have known something, but how? I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the guest room with the door locked, watching camera feeds on my phone, trying to understand what I was seeing, trying to decide what to do. By morning, I had a plan, not a good plan maybe, but a plan. I would confront her, show her the evidence, tell her to leave. I'd call Michael and explain everything. He was a good man, my son. He'd understand, he'd believe me. But at 6:30 a.m., before I could act, I heard footsteps outside my door, then voices. Rebecca wasn't alone. "He's still sleeping," Rebecca said. "Old people sleep late. You're sure about this?" A man's voice, the same man from the videos. "I'm sure. The will gives everything to Michael, which means everything to me once we're divorced. But if the old man changes it before that happens, we get nothing. This needs to happen now, and he won't fight it. He's practically senile already. No one will believe him." I heard the sound of keys. My doorknob turned, but I'd locked it from the inside. "Dad." Rebecca's voice was sweet, concerned. "Dad, are you okay? Why is your door locked?" I didn't answer. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. "Dad, I'm worried about you. I'm coming in." I heard more keys, then a different sound, a drill. They were removing the doorknob. I grabbed my phone and texted my attorney. "Emergency, call police. She's breaking into my room." The response came immediately. "Already on it. Don't engage. Record everything." The doorknob fell to the floor with a clatter. The door swung open. Rebecca stood there with the man from the videos. Behind them I could see two more people, a woman in scrubs and an older man in a cheap suit. Dad, Rebecca said, and her voice was pure concern, pure worry. We've been so worried about you. You locked yourself in. You haven't been yourself lately. I'm fine, I said, keeping my voice steady. I want you to leave now, see. Rebecca turned to the others. This is what I was telling you about, the paranoia, the confusion. He doesn't even recognize that we're trying to help. The woman in scrubs stepped forward. She had a clipboard. Mr. Morrison, I'm Sandra from Peaceful Meadows Care Facility. Your daughter-in-law called us because she's concerned about your well-being. She's not my daughter-in-law, I said. Well, she is, but she's having an affair. She's stealing from me. I have proof. Rebecca's face crumpled. She actually produced tears. Oh, Dad, this is exactly what I was afraid of, the accusations, the delusions. So much worse. I'm not delusional, I said. I have cameras. I have evidence. The man in the suit spoke up. He handed me a business card. Mr. Morrison, I'm James Chen, attorney at law. Mrs. Morrison has petitioned for emergency guardianship due to your deteriorating mental state. Given your recent behavior, the paranoia, the accusations, the isolation, we believe it's in your best interest to be evaluated. I don't need to be evaluated. I need you all to get out of my house. It's not your house anymore, Dad, Rebecca said softly. You signed it over to Michael last month, don't you remember? I felt the floor drop out from under me. I never signed anything. Rebecca pulled out a document. It was a quitclaim deed. My signature was at the bottom, except it wasn't my signature. It was close, very close, but I could see the differences. The way the R curled, the slant of the M. This is forged, I said. Mr. Morrison, the attorney said, I understand this is difficult, but fighting this will only make things harder. Mrs. Morrison is willing to ensure you receive the best care possible. All she asks is that you cooperate. Best care, I looked at Rebecca. You mean lock me away so you can steal everything? Rebecca turned to the others. I'm so sorry you have to see him like this. He wasn't always this way. The woman from the care facility stepped closer. Mr. Morrison, if you come with us voluntarily, this will be much easier. We have a lovely room waiting for you, private, comfortable. I'm not going anywhere. The man from the videos, Rebecca's boyfriend, finally spoke. Maybe we should just call the police. He's clearly a danger to himself. No, Rebecca said quickly. No police. That would just traumatize him more. She looked at me. Dad, please don't make this harder than it has to be. I looked at each of them, at Rebecca with her fake tears, at the attorney with his fake concern, at the care facility worker with her fake smile, and at the boyfriend who wasn't even bothering to hide his smirk. Fine, I said. I'll cooperate, but I need to call my attorney first. I'm afraid that's not possible, Chen said. Once the emergency guardianship petition is filed, all financial and legal decisions go through the guardian. That's Mrs. Morrison. You can't do this. We already have, Rebecca said, and for just a moment the mask slipped. I saw the real her. The calculating, cold woman who'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. Now, she continued, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way is you go with Sandra to get evaluated. The hard way is we call Adult Protective Services and they remove you by force. Your choice, Dad. I looked at my phone, still clutched in my hand. The security app was open. Every camera was recording. Every word they just said was captured. The easy way, I said. Rebecca smiled. Good. Sandra, why don't you help him pack a bag? That won't be necessary, Sandra said. We provide everything he'll need at the facility. Actually, Rebecca said, I think it would be better if Dad stayed here in the guest room just for a few days until we can arrange the proper facility. He's so stressed right now, moving him might make things worse. I saw the play immediately. Keep me here, keep me isolated, keep me under control while they finished whatever they were planning. That's highly irregular, Sandra said. I'll pay triple your consulting fee, Rebecca said. He's family, I want him comfortable. Sandra hesitated, then nodded. 3 days, then we'll need to move him to the facility for proper evaluation. Perfect, Rebecca said. They left, all of them filing out of the guest room. Rebecca was the last to go. She paused at the door and looked back at me. I'm sorry it has to be this way, Dad, she said, but you really should have been more cooperative. Then she stepped out and closed the door. I heard the sound of something being installed. When I tried the doorknob, it didn't turn. They put a new lock on it. From the outside, I was trapped in my own guest room. I immediately pulled out my phone and called my attorney. It went straight to voicemail. I tried again, same result. Then I noticed no signal. They'd done something to block my cell service, but the Wi-Fi was still working. The security app still had connection. I opened it and scrolled through the cameras, watching Rebecca and her crew gather in my living room. That went better than expected, the boyfriend said. Rebecca poured herself a drink from my bar. He's more senile than I thought, making it almost too easy. What about the cameras he mentioned? Chen asked. Paranoid delusion. There are no cameras. I checked the whole house 3 weeks ago. But what if he's telling the truth? Rebecca laughed. Even if he somehow installed cameras, so what? It's his word against mine, and I have a lawyer, a care facility worker, and a boyfriend who'll all testify to his mental incompetence, plus a forged deed that'll hold up just long enough for what we need. When does Michael get back? The boyfriend asked. Not for another month. By then Dad will be in a facility, the house will be sold, and I'll have filed for divorce with a very generous settlement based on the marital assets which now include this property. What about when he fights it? Who's going to believe him? A confused old man making wild accusations against his loving daughter-in-law who's been taking care of him. Please. The minute he starts talking about hidden cameras and stolen pocket watches, everyone will just nod sympathetically and increase his medication. I watched them toast, watched them laugh, watched them mock me, and I kept recording. For 3 days I stayed in that guest room. They brought me food once a day, enough to keep me alive but not comfortable. They'd removed everything from the room except the bed, a chair, and a lamp. No phone charger, no computer, just me and my phone with its dwindling battery, but that phone was enough. I watched them through the cameras. Rebecca and her boyfriend treating my house like their personal hotel. Chen coming and going, bringing documents for Rebecca to sign. The care facility worker Sandra checking in once a day, always professional, always documenting my confusion and paranoia. I recorded it all. Every conversation, every unguarded moment, every time Rebecca slipped up and revealed the truth. On the 3rd day my phone battery was at 4%. I'd been rationing it, turning it off except to check the cameras every few hours. I knew I had maybe 1 more hour of recording time left. Then at 2:37 p.m. I heard something that made my blood run cold. Rebecca was on the phone in the kitchen. The camera picked up her words clearly. Yes, the evaluation is scheduled for tomorrow. Once he's declared incompetent, we can move forward with the facility placement. It's a Medicaid facility, cheapest we could find, should drain his remaining assets within 6 months, then he'll be a ward of the state. What about his son? A woman's voice on the other end on speaker. Michael, he'll be upset at first, but he'll get over it. By the time he realizes what happened, it'll be too late to reverse. And honestly, he's always been more focused on his career than his father anyway. You're cold, Rebecca. I'm practical. The old man has a paid-off house worth $1.2 million, another $400K in retirement accounts, and God knows what else hidden away. You think I'm going to let all that go to waste on some old man who doesn't even leave his room anymore? When will you file for divorce? The minute the house sale closes. Michael can keep his precious moral high ground. I'll keep the money. My phone died at 2:41 p.m., but I'd heard enough. I sat in the darkness of the guest room as afternoon faded to evening. No food came, no one checked on me. I was alone with my thoughts and my anger and my plan. At 8:15 p.m. I heard the doorbell ring, voices in the hallway. Rebecca sounded annoyed. Who the hell is that? The doorbell rang again, longer this time, more insistent. I heard footsteps, the front door opening, then a voice I recognized. Mrs. Morrison, I'm Detective Sarah Chen with the County Sheriff's Office. We've received a report of possible elder abuse at this address. I need to speak with Walter Morrison immediately. This is a misunderstanding, Rebecca said. My father-in-law has been experiencing some mental health issues. He's resting right now. I need to see him now. Do you have a warrant? I don't need a warrant for a wellness check, ma'am. Now please step aside. I heard footsteps coming up the stairs, multiple sets, then voices outside my door. This door is locked from the outside, the detective said. For his own safety, he's been trying to wander. Open it. I don't have the key with me. Then. I suggest you find it. Now, there was a long pause, then the sound of keys, the lock turning, the door opening, light flooded into the room. I squinted against it, seeing Detective Chen standing in the doorway with 2 uniformed officers behind her. Behind them, Rebecca looked pale. Mr. Morrison, Detective Chen said, are you okay? I'm fine now, I said. My voice was hoarse from 3 days of minimal water. But I need to show you something. Sir, you need medical attention first. I need to show you my security footage first, before they destroy it. Detective Chen's expression shifted. You have cameras in the house, 7 of them hidden, recording everything for the past 3 weeks. Rebecca made a sound, a small, choked gasp. Mrs. Morrison, Detective Chen said, please step back into the hallway. This is my house, Rebecca said. You can't. Actually, I said, standing up on shaky legs, it's not your house, it's mine. You forged the deed, and I can prove it. He's confused, Rebecca said quickly. He doesn't know what he's saying. Then you won't mind if we take a look at these cameras, Detective Chen said. I led them downstairs, Rebecca and her boyfriend trailing behind with the officers. My attorney was already there, standing in my living room. He must have called the police, must have been the one who sent them. Walter, he said when he saw me. Thank God. How did you know? I asked. You gave me access to your security system, remember? When you first had it installed, you asked me to monitor it in case anything happened. I've been watching for 3 days, documenting everything, waiting for the right moment. When I saw them lock you in this morning without food or water, I knew we couldn't wait any longer. Show me the footage, Detective Chen said. We pulled it up on my television, every camera, every angle, every conversation, the affair, the theft, the forged documents, the plan to drain my assets, the locked door. 3 days of imprisonment. Rebecca sank onto my couch as the footage played. Her boyfriend tried to leave, but the officers stopped him. This isn't what it looks like, Rebecca said. We were trying to help him. By locking him in a room without food or water, Detective Chen asked. He's confused. He's been making accusations. We were protecting him from himself. The footage shows you discussing draining his assets and putting him in a Medicaid facility to die. That's not, I didn't mean, Mrs. Morrison, you're under arrest for elder abuse, false imprisonment, and conspiracy to commit fraud. You have the right to remain silent. I stopped listening. I was watching Rebecca's face as reality set in, as she understood that her plan had failed, that I'd been 10 steps ahead of her the entire time. The boyfriend, his name was Travis, I learned later was arrested too. So was the attorney Chen, who'd known exactly what he was participating in. The care facility worker, Sandra, claimed ignorance and was released pending investigation. My son Michael flew home immediately. He arrived the next day devastated and furious and apologetic all at once. Dad, I'm so sorry, he said. I should have seen it. I should have known. You were halfway around the world, I said, and she was very good at hiding who she really was. I'm filing for divorce, obviously, and pressing charges. She tried to steal everything. She tried to, his voice broke. She tried to kill you. She tried to bury me, I corrected. There's a difference. The legal proceedings took 4 months. Rebecca pleaded guilty to elder abuse and fraud to avoid a trial. She got 18 months in county jail and a permanent restraining order keeping her away from me and Michael. Travis got 12 months for conspiracy. Chen, the attorney, lost his license and got 2 years. The forged deed was invalidated. My accounts were secured. My property remained mine. Michael stayed for 3 weeks helping me recover. We talked more in those 3 weeks than we had in the previous 3 years, really talked about his mother, about his marriage, about his career and his choices and his regrets. I chose work over family, he admitted one night. I thought success meant providing, but I left you alone when you needed me most. You didn't leave me alone, I said. You trusted the wrong person to care for me. That's not the same thing. I should have seen through her. Love makes us blind, I said. Your mother taught me that. She said love is trust, and trust means sometimes we get hurt. But the alternative, never trusting anyone, that's not living, that's just existing. He cried then. My strong, successful son broke down in my living room and cried for the marriage he'd lost and the father he'd almost lost and the innocence that was gone forever. After he left to return to Singapore, his contract was only half finished. I spent a lot of time thinking about what Rebecca had said. About me being a confused old man who didn't even leave his room anymore. She'd been wrong about the confused part, dead wrong, but the rest of it. I had been isolated, I had been withdrawn. After my wife died, I'd let the house become a tomb instead of a home. I'd let grief swallow me. Rebecca had seen that vulnerability and tried to exploit it. But in a twisted way, she'd also woken me up. Reminded me that I was still here, still alive, still capable of fighting. I started volunteering at the senior center, teaching woodworking classes. I'd been a carpenter before I went into real estate and my hands still remembered the skills. I met other men my age who'd lost their wives, who understood the particular loneliness of being the one left behind. I went to therapy, something I should have done years ago but had been too proud to consider. The therapist helped me understand that Rebecca hadn't targeted me because I was weak. She'd targeted me because I had something she wanted. The weakness was hers, not mine. 6 months after the arrest, I received a letter from Rebecca. It had been screened by my attorney first. She wasn't supposed to contact me directly, but he decided I should see it. The letter was short. Mr. Morrison, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that you were right about one thing. I wasn't always this person. I don't know when I changed or how I became someone who could do what I did. All I know is that somewhere along the way, I started seeing people as opportunities instead of human beings. You were just another opportunity, another score. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry I didn't see you as the man who welcomed me into his family, who called me his daughter, who trusted me. I saw you as an obstacle to money I convinced myself I deserved. I was wrong. I hope someday you can remember me as the woman your son fell in love with before I became this. But I understand if you can't. I can barely remember her myself. I burned the letter after reading it, not out of anger, out of closure. She was right. I couldn't remember who she'd been before. All I could remember was the woman who'd locked me in a room and discussed my death like it was a business transaction, but I could choose to remember other things too. My wife's laugh, my son's graduation, the 30 years I'd spent building a business and a home and a life, the friends I'd made, the family I still had. I could choose to remember that I'd survived, that I'd fought back, that I'd won, not because I was smarter or stronger or better, but because I'd prepared, because I'd trusted my instincts, because I'd documented everything and reached out for help when I needed it. Michael visits more often now. Every 6 weeks he flies home for a long weekend. We've learned to talk about things that matter, about his career and whether it's really what he wants. About my health and my life and what comes next. I'm thinking about coming home, he told me during his last visit. For good. Singapore was good for my resume, but it's not home. You don't have to do that for me, I said. I'm not doing it for you, I'm doing it for me. I missed 3 years of your life chasing a promotion I didn't need. I'm not missing any more. He starts his new job local here in town next month. The house feels different now. Not haunted the way it did after my wife died. Not violated the way it did after Rebecca. Just Lived in, home, I've started dating again, nothing serious. Coffee with a woman from the senior center, dinner with a widow from my therapy group. It feels strange and awkward and sometimes wonderful. My attorney, who became a friend through all this, asked me if I'd be willing to speak to other elderly people about protecting themselves, about recognizing the signs of financial abuse, about the importance of documentation and cameras and staying connected. I said yes, because that's the thing Rebecca got wrong. She thought being older meant being weak, meant being vulnerable, meant being easy prey, but we're not. We're experienced, we're careful, we've survived decades of life's challenges, we know how to adapt. We just need to remember that, remember our strength, remember our worth. I'm 68 years old. My daughter-in-law locked me in a room and tried to steal my life, but I had cameras running, I had an attorney watching. I had evidence and preparation and the stubbornness of a man who'd built everything he had with his own hands. She lost everything, her marriage, her freedom, her future. I kept everything, my home, my son, my dignity, and I learned something valuable. Trust is important, family is important, but vigilance is survival. Every morning now I check my security cameras, not because I'm paranoid, not because I'm afraid, but because I'm prepared, and I'll never be locked in a room again.